Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this episode of Spreadsheet Gaming. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and import the treasure tables in here. We're going to create a table that will check automatically for us to see if these treasures are present or not. And then we're going to move on over to the spells, and we're going to import all of these spells into our spreadsheet. However, on the last episode, I did mention that we did have to go ahead and fix the XP for next level threshold, and that in and of itself is pretty simple. I'm just going to go over to the hireling roster. I'm going to steal that same formula that we created for them. I'm going to bring it on over to our XP for next level section, and let's go ahead and fix this. The level needs to... Oh yeah, we need to fix both of these. Okay, so... the class is equal to C2, yeah, $C2. The level is, I remember, E2, and we're going to do +1, because that's what we did. Perfect. Let's paste that all the way down, and we are all set. Okay, so we've got everybody's XP thresholds figured out. Yeah, we probably should do the same thing for Thaco as well. So let's grab the hirelings. Thaco. Come over here to our character sheet. It is $C2. It is $E2. And we're good there. Copy. Paste. And we're all set. Okay. Now that we've got that all finished, let's go to our data import sheet, and we're going to start with the treasure tables. All right, now there are several, so there's no tables on this page. Instead, what we're going to pull is the lists. Now, I could just kind of copy and paste this, but there's a couple nice things that the list function over here is going to do for us. It's going to ignore all of the headers. So I'll be able to plug those in as I would like to. And in addition to that, it's going to keep the data nice and clean. I'm not going to accidentally grab any of these bullets. I'm not going to accidentally grab the next space or anything like that. I'm just going to let this function do its job. So let's... Holy guacamole. Let's grab that. Let's plug it in over here. Remember, this is a list we're using, so let's switch that to list. Okay, I see that it's giving me kind of a list of all the different tables. That's not the one I want. Let's try number 4. 4 isn't it. Let's try 5. 6. Now we're getting closer. 7. And 8. There we go. Okay, so now I'm getting all of the numbers that I'm needing here. And just to confirm, I believe this is going to be treasure number A. And let's just confirm that. D6 100, D6 copper, D6 1000 silver, D6 1000. Yeah, okay. Now that I've got the data that I want, let's go ahead and start us a new sheet. We'll call it treasure. Sure. I want to be able to automate this. So I want to check the percentages, and then I want to separate all of the results. So we're going to use a formula that we've used before in this series. We're going to go ahead and, well, first things first, let's copy this. Let's get all the data that we need. Control-Shift-V, paste it. And now I want to go ahead and split it up. And the nice thing about this is I can see a nice specific character right there that will split this exactly how we want it. So we're going to start with split. And we want to, well, we're picking that text. The delimiter that we want to get rid of is going to be the colon. And in this particular case, I'm going to say false when it was asking me to split by each. Essentially what this is doing is it's only going to check one time for the colon, and then it's going to stop checking. This will be good in case there are any other treasures that might be behind a colon of some kind. This way we're only going to split it by the one time, which is immediately following the percentage. So we should be good with that. Go ahead and close this off. Alrighty, and as we can see, I've got the 25% there, so I'm going to go ahead and continue that formula. And we've got the data all nice and clean how we want it. So what I'm going to do is we'll call this the chance. We'll call this the reward. And let's go ahead and turn this into a table now, because all of this data is pretty much going to be exactly the same. And I'm going to automate the process moving forward, so I don't have to copy and paste this split formula. Instead, I can just copy and paste the data in here. So let's move on over to list number 9. But I just remembered one other thing. We actually want to label these tables, so we'll call this treasure table treasure type. That's what we'll call it, treasure type. And this is all from the A column, so let's label that as such. Coming back on over here, we know we've got our B treasures here, so I'm going to go ahead and copy these, paste them down here, and we don't have to do that formula anymore. We don't have to drag, copy, and paste. Because we've made this table, it's just going to do it for us automatically. I do have to plug in the B's here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I think I'm going to grab a handful more tables off camera here, and then we'll get on to the next part of this video where we're going to check against this random chance. So I'll see you guys in just a minute. Welcome back, guys. I've added a handful more tables to our treasure table over here. I'm just going to add one more just so you guys can see. One of the nice things when we use tables is normally if I'm not on any table, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of the sheet. However, if I do have an end of the table to reference, it's just going to go ahead and stop there if I hold Control and push the down key. So just keep that in mind while you guys are working with tables. This isn't E, this is G. Now that we've got several different tables several different treasure types, I should say, that we can go ahead and check. The next step is I want to have this table roll for us. And then I want to see if we do actually succeed or not, quote unquote, at seeing any of this treasure. We'll call this column roll. And because we're looking at a percentage here, and let's just make sure that we're looking at a percentage. I did that by highlighting the whole column, and I selected the percentage button up here. But because we're checking a percentage, what I'm going to do, instead of doing rand between, because rand between goes from 1, it starts as 1, we need to use the rand function, right, or the rand formula right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And this formula, you don't input anything. This is literally all you have to do is equal rand. Go ahead and hit enter. Sheets is nice enough to autofill, so we'll go ahead and have it do that for me. And I don't need I don't need all these different decimals, so I'm just going to get it down to the 2 decimals. And then the last thing we want to do here is we're going to check to see if this is underneath that percentage chance. And that is a simple if formula. We're going to call this column present, whether or not the treasure is here. We'll start with our if formula. We'll say if this column is less than or equal to this column, then we will say yes. Otherwise, we will say no. And just like that, we've got our treasure tracker here. And if we need to filter by the whichever treasure that we're giving them, we can go ahead and clear that out just like this and just say, yep, we're just looking for the D table. And when we filter that way, does it give us whether or not this treasure is present? Yes, it does. So we can say that, yes, there is 1d6 times 1,000 gold pieces, and there is 1d8 pieces of jewelry in this particular treasure trove. And last but not least, we'll call this the treasure. We'll call this random treasure. All right. Now, just to finish it off, let's go ahead and call this the treasure. We'll just call it the same name, random treasure. All right, we've got the random treasure. And for the next part of this video, we're going to go ahead and get the spells. Now, there's something different about this particular one. The nice thing about all these spells is that they have a link to the pages, if I were to just pull this into our data import sheet, and we'll just say list number 3. There we go. Notice how we've lost all of those links. And this is a pretty simple format. So I think in this case, we're just going to copy this. We're not going to use our spreadsheet tricks. We're just going to literally highlight and copy these into our spreadsheet so we can hold on to the links. So I'm going to make a new table here. We'll call them spells. And I've got this all highlighted. Let's copy it. We're going to paste it. We're not going to Control-Shift-V because if we did that, we would lose those links. So instead, it's just going to be Control-V. And now we can, if we need to reference any of these spells, we can easily do that. The only thing is, I do need to qualify this a little bit more. So we'll say spell list. We'll keep it with the old school essentials look. So we'll call this the magic user list. Oh no. The magic user. And actually, we're going to wait until the very end to do that because we've got a lot more copying to do. But instead, we're going to do spell level, and that we are going to quantify for every single one. I'm going to go ahead and copy the rest of these spells from the sheet here, guys. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, guys, welcome back. I've got almost all the spells added to my list here. Just finishing up the 6th level spells. All right, and now that I've got the complete magic user list, I'm going to go to the bottom of my list and paste all that. And we've got our table completed there, so we're all set as far as that is concerned. And let's go ahead and move on to the cleric spells. Where did I find them? That's right, cleric spells. And I'm going to go ahead and grab these off camera, and I will be right back. All right, welcome back. I went ahead and added all of the cleric spells as well. Now we're going to turn this into a table. And we'll call this the spell... Yeah, we'll just call it the spells table. Why not? Now, one of the things that we lost from getting all these spells is all of the numbers. And the numbers are nice in case you want to randomly roll for scrolls or maybe starting spells for, you know, your magic users and that sort of thing. So we're going to use one of the formulas that we've been playing with before. I'm going to add another column over here to the side. We'll call this number. Why not? And what we're going to do is we're going to have sequences. We're going to have a sequence of 1, 12. Actually, let's do this because I know we're going to have different numbers depending on the class, or depending on the class and the spell level. For example, the cleric spell list is actually smaller than the magic user one. So I'm gonna get the numbers I need over here. Let's start with a sequence. Let's do 12 and 1. So we've got 12 numbers there for our wizards. And let's get sequence, I believe it's 8 is the minimum. Let's take a look. Yeah, 8 for the cleric. And then the higher level cleric spells are going to be 6. I don't even think that 1 is necessary. I think we could have just did sequence 6. Yeah, we could have just did sequence 6. Oh well, you guys can have the shorthand for you. But now we've got the numbers that we need. I'm just going to copy that over here. Let's go on over to our wizard. And let's just make sure. I believe it's 12 across the board for the magic users, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, great. So for magic user, it's as simple as just... And we're done with wizard. Now for cleric, it looks like first and second, they have 8 spells, and then after that, they have 6 spells. So coming back to our sheet and that sequence formula that we used, let's go ahead and copy that. We'll paste it on over twice. And then for the remaining 3 times, let's grab our 6 numbers there. We'll come back and to finish it off, All right, we've got our random number over here, and now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and get rid of it. And we'll just go ahead and call this our spells. And for the last part of this video, what we'll go ahead and do is we will make a scroll, we'll make a scroll generator. That's what we'll call it. And it's going to be relatively simple. We're going to go, let's say, spell list. And we will say spell level. So we have spell level, and we have spell list. And let's go ahead and plug in our data validation, our lists here. We're going to have it a drop down. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and do the drop down ourselves. We'll call it, no, let's keep our data integrity up. So instead of plugging in this information ourselves, we're going to go get the data from the source. We're going to go in here. We're going to check our spell list. We're going to check our entire spell list. This way, if we do add other spell lists to this later, perhaps maybe we'll do psionics or something like that, then this list can grow dynamically instead of us actually having to add it. So don't take the easy way out. Do it the proper way moving forward. Don't be lazy like I was trying to be right there. That's my point. So we've got our list here. Now we want to add our levels, and we're going to do the same thing. Let's add a new rule over here. Drop down from a range. We're going to pick the spell level range. All right, we've got our two lists here. Let's just say magic user and 3. All right, we've got this set up. Now, we're going to do one of our favorite formulas, the handy dandy if formula, because I want to be able to roll randomly and depending on these two factors. Now, if it's a magic user, we can just roll 12s all day long. So let's go ahead and set that up. Let's just say, and we'll do ifs, this, and that'll be our first check. Remember how I talked about in the first episode, or one of our earlier episodes, we have to do this in order. So the first thing that we're going to check is, if this is a magic user table, we don't have to do anything else. So first things first. If B1 is equal to magic user, then we are going to ran between 1 and 12. If B2 is, let's say, less than 3, then we will roll 1 through 8. And remember, otherwise, we will roll 1 through 6. That's going to give us a number. And I wonder if we should just go ahead and hide that number. Well, let's leave it where it is for now. I want to finish off this formula, and then we can decide if we want to hide it, if we want to see the actual result, so on and so forth. So the next part of this is going to be a pretty complicated filter. So let's start with our filter formula. What we want is we want the name range. So I'm just going to start here. And what I'm checking for is that the spells list is equal to this, and that the spell level is equal to B2. And then last but not least, the spell number is equal to this random number that we're generating. All right. So we randomly got result number 10 from the magic user's 3rd level spell list, and let's just verify that is correct. 3rd level spells, number 10, protection from evil. Perfect. So yes, this is our randomly generated, this is our random scroll generator, or you can use this however you want. And the nice thing about Sheets, this is something that Sheets does that Excel does not do. When you do the filter formula, it is going to carry over the links. If this was Excel, you would just see the data here. You would not be able to click and go into this link. And let's just make sure it works. We'll go ahead and switch it on over to Cleric. We'll switch it on over to Detect Evil. Okay, great. I wanted to make sure those numbers were changing. And, oh, right, yeah, because clerics don't get 6th level spells. Aha, that's right. All right. So it looks like we are good to go with our spell generator. We are good to go with our treasure tracker. So that is going to do it for this episode of Spreadsheet Gaming. Let's go ahead and rename this Scroll Generator for now. Again, I'm going to leave this 5 here for now. I haven't really decided what to do with it yet, but I can confirm that it does work with this particular cell. I can just kind of put this 5 over here and then hide this column if I really didn't like the number there, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it for now. But yeah, like I said, that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode of Spreadsheet Gaming. I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day.